Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have just a horrific experience to share with you. Also, in my eyes, tragic update because there isn't an update on a missing hiker in the Adirondacks. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available in Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. With that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? So I want to first kind of go into the update real quick. Young man from Canada, from Quebec, Canada. His name's Leo Dufour, 22 years old. He was up in the Adirondacks, Newcomb, New York to be exact, with family, Thanksgiving time, and had decided that he was going to go to Allen Mountain. Allen Mountain I've hiked before. It's a decent hike. In spring, summer, fall. Would I hike it in winter? No. Maybe with snowshoes and the right gear, but definitely not with what this young man had on. But also, it wasn't that bad when he had gone hiking that day. So I want to quick just share Newcomb. The search for a hiker from Quebec who was reported missing on Allen Mountain more than a week ago is now transitioning to weather-dependent recovery mission as the cold temperatures, snowfall, and remote search area endanger searchers and keep them from making any progress. Leo Dufour, 22 years old, of Quebec, set out on November 29th alone to hike Allen Mountain, a high peak with the elevation of 4,340 feet. After 9 days of active searching, 59 forest rangers with the State Department of Environmental Conservation had covered 400 miles of ground by foot. But with snowfall accumulating every day and the weather and rugged terrain posing risks to searchers, they have come up empty. As the search becomes a recovery mission and the weather remains harsh, they are transitioning the search to a limited continuous search. Forest Ranger Jameson Martin, the incident commander for the search, said, "It's hard to make a decision to transition the search." Quote, "When you give it 100%, you hope to have some sort of conclusion. It's extremely hard," he said. "You want to do it for the family." A limited continuous search is all about safety and access, Forest Ranger Captain Sarah Gelser said. "It is dependent on the snow and temperatures," she said. "Detectability has been low. The summit was more has more than 4 feet of snow, and the searchers are swimming in it chest deep, making searching next to impossible. If we have a good window where we are going to have high levels of detectability, then we're absolutely going to try and get out there and search for Leo, Gelser said. While DEC suspended active field search efforts as of midnight on Monday, it may continue air searches, backcountry patrols, and outreach. Quotes, the operation will upgrade to an active search if any leads regarding the whereabouts of Dufour are realized, according to spokesperson Jeff Warnick. Anyone with any information can contact New York State Police at 518-873-2778. Martin and Gelser strongly discourage people from searching for Dufour on their own. We don't want to have to come out and rescue anyone else. Martin said that on Sunday they had to rescue a volunteer searcher, which hampered the search for efforts. Quotes, the professionals have been at it for a week solid, and we haven't been able to find a thing, Martin said. Conditions have been brutal. Winds have hit up to 20 to 30 miles an hour and created whiteouts and wind chills below minus 25 degrees. It snowed 6 to 8 inches on the day Dufour was hiking, Martin said, and has snowed a couple of inches every day since. The hike to the summit on Allen Mountain was around a 20-mile round trip, Martin said. Searchers have been shuttled in as far as they can go by ATV and snowmobile, but they hike the rest of the way in for themselves. Martin said they hike a mountain for 10 miles in a blizzard, and then they start the work of actually searching. If you stop moving, if you don't have gear, the puffy suits to get into, your body is going to shut down in a matter of hours, Martin said. You cannot survive out here. The last active search crews left the field Monday afternoon, he states. The last sign of Dufour's location was a water bottle found near the slides close to the summit approach. On the first night, searchers tracked what they believed to be Dufour's footprints before the snow covered the tracks. Martin said they had 2 pretty definitive satellite hookups on Dufour's phone lower on the mountain from earlier in his hike. Martin said it's possible Dufour is still alive, but not likely. Odds are it's a recovery mission, he said. Forest rangers have been in contact with Dufour's family, but they are keeping those conversations private. Dufour, an avid hiker, according to Facebook posts, and friends, had some winter hiking gear. Oh, he did have snowshoes, Snowshoes and micro spikes, as well as a stove. Well, shit. Martin said other hikers had signed in on the trail register for Allen Mountain a few days before and a few days after he was reported missing. They have contacted everyone who has been on that mountain at around that same time. New York State Police have transported searchers and supplies to the mountain by helicopter and conducted aerial searches with infrared as weather conditions allow. The United States Department of Homeland Security has provided communications in the backcountry. Rangers began the search after getting the call from Dufour's father at 2:30 a.m. December 1st, who said Dufour was expected back the night before. State police said in a Facebook post they received the initial call at 11 p.m. on November 30th. Dufour's vehicle was located at Mount Adams Trailhead on the Upper Works Road in the town of Newcomb. The search was centered around Allen Mountain and possible corridors where Dufour could have gone off trail, such as the stream or drainage depressions. They may have resembled a possible route. Portions of the trail to Allen are unmarked and unofficial according to the final portion of the hike that gains most of its elevation near the top. Allen Mountain is considered to be an extremely isolated peak, the most remote high peak in the Adirondacks, according to Scott Sabo, Forest Ranger. The trail to the summit is approximately 9 miles one way from Mount Adams parking lot, which has several bridgeless streams to cross. Gelser said people hiking the backcountry in winter should hike in groups, have the right gear, have sat phones without cell coverage in the area. Like on Allen Mountain, sat phones are the only way to communicate. Right, so the last kind of update we got was back in January from Adirondack Explorer, which is a magazine and a periodical, an online periodical, as well as a Facebook page. Update on missing Canadian hiker. Forest rangers have paused searching for a Canadian hiker missing since late November in the southern Adirondack High Peaks due to heavy snowpack and a lack of detectability. The State Department of Environmental Conservation said the father, 22-year-old Leo Dufour, reported him missing back on December 1st after he didn't return home from a planned hiking trip up Allen Mountain. One of the most remote high peaks in the park, forest rangers searched the mountain for more than a week before transitioning the effort to a recovery mission. DEC said no additional searching has since been done on Allen. It is preparing for another search when snow begins to melt. So we know, yes, it is an isolated. It's kind of hard to describe New York's high peaks. The majority of them are directly north of where I live. And it's strange because here's another thing it's strange when it comes to upstate New York. A true upstater, myself, is directly above New York City. I'm a straight shot north. I'm an hour straight north of Albany. An hour and a half, actually. And there's the Adirondack starts, boom, right a minute and a half from my house south. So I live in the park. Then there is a section of the park which is west, going out towards Syracuse, that region. And then that is considered like the western part of the Adirondacks. Then you have the southern Adirondacks, which is where I live. But Newcomb, the reason why this mountain is so remote and isolated is because it's practically the one and only mountain in that region that is a high peak standing by itself. If you look at a map of the high peaks, they are like boom, 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 all within this very kind of mapped out area. Very beautiful. My mom actually had hiked the highest high peak when she was pregnant with me, called Mount Marcy. But Allen it's not an easy hike, and it's not really a hard hike. Like I said, in spring, summer, and fall. Winter. Now, one of the main reasons why it interests me is, one, we've got a missing person, which he was an experienced hiker. All right. I'd forgotten. It's been so long since I looked into this case, actually, because I had made an upload about it right before I had my dental surgery. And then I think like a week after. Yeah, about a week after, when we got the last update of December. So he did have micro spikes. He had snowshoes, but he had a stove. So that a person with that equipment is not a beginner. More or less intermediate, I would say. And to be honest with you, the majority of the park rangers that work in the Adirondacks, I would say, are not even close to being intermediate hikers. And that's not a disrespectful thing to them at all. It's just, you with how people are today, people that are qualified for those positions don't apply for those positions, and then people who need jobs, like in the Adirondacks where I live, there is a lack of jobs. You've got a lot of prisons up here. And, so you get those late 30, 40, 50-year-old men who are out of shape. Great people, salt of the earth, but just aren't, a lot of them are in it just for the financial part of the job. And there are those that are in it for the job itself, the love of, actually, everyone loves, if you are a park ranger, you do love the land. I can't say that. Just less physically fit, I guess, would be the best thing, because of lack of jobs, So if you are hiring for these park ranger positions and within a community that is, a lot of factories have gone out of business up here, and, there's only X amount of prisoner jobs or prison guard jobs or, prison jobs. So you're going to have those people that want to work, that are essentially qualified to work, but are not hike worthy. The thing about when they went hunting for this young man, or recovering, the recovery mission, is the snow hit so rapidly. When I had my surgery was December 5th, and I'll never forget it. We were driving to go down and get, it was 6:30 in the morning. Going to the dentist, 45 minutes south of me. And it was snowing, spitting snow. 10-15 minutes on the highway. It's now accumulated like two inches, and by the time I was done with my surgery, I don't remember anything of it, except when I woke up back home at like 7:30 p.m. We had 12 inches of snow, 11 inches of snow. So, and out that way where Newcomb, Mount Allen is, they probably got hit with double that in that amount of time. So, he he walked into a snowstorm, a very bad snowstorm. And then there were snowstorms after. But something just doesn't sit with me. And I'm not saying it's Dogman or Bigfoot. I'm saying the Adirondack Park has Native Americans, the native tribes up here in that are still in this region, Hogansburg, the Akwesasne Reservation. They talk about how powerful these mountains are. The Revolutionary War was fought here. And, you got Saratoga Battlefield. You've got Lake George, Fort William Henry. Last of the Mohegans, the book by James Fenimore Cooper, was written in Glens Falls, New York by Fenimore Cooper and depicts pretty much what went down here. There was a horrendous amount of violence that occurred in the Adirondacks during the Revolutionary War. So, there's some darkness. Like Appalachia. I say Appalachia has a dark history. And I believe that Bigfoot, Dogman, crawlers are attracted to that area because of that darkness. Not as bad as the Appalachia, but the Adirondacks have had its fair share of darkness. Tom Messick disappeared. Not even a water bottle was found. His family members were 200 yards away. He had a rifle. He had a walkie-talkie. He had a cell phone. Not that cell phones work on Lily Pond Road, but, this kid wasn't a slump, he was a young man. So I don't know. I don't know if it was cryptid, maybe portal. I don't know. Hopefully they find his body for his family. Just there's something off about this case. You could have even a natural thing could have happened. I do hope they find him, but something is off with this case. Something doesn't smell right. I do hope. Unfortunately, we do know by now he is deceased. I hope that they do find his body. I hope they recover his body. And the best scenario I can come up with is he fell in a spruce trap and froze. And hopefully his body is intact. And as unfortunate it is, I only pray that, his family can give him the proper burial that he deserves as a young man. That's the most recent update on the case. But something just doesn't smell right to me on it. And once again, I'm not saying Dogman, Bigfoot. It could be something else completely. It could be a natural cause or it could be a supernatural cause. Let's jump into the final bit of business today. All right, so I am pretty current up to my emails from subscribers. It's not going to sound like I am when I say what I'm going to say, but I get about 150 emails from subscribers daily. The majority of them are not experiences, but all in all, probably 500 emails daily, and that's not my spam box. That is my normal email. So it takes me a while to get through them all, separate them, star them, put them in a box. And with everything that's been going on with my surgery and everything, I fell behind. And for the last 4 months, I'd say, I was 3 months behind, you know. Right now, I'm approximately 3 weeks behind. So if you sent me an email 3 weeks ago or current, I will be getting to you very quickly. Because honestly, I am more caught up than I have been in a long time. So I apologize, and I will be narrating or contacting you very shortly. So today's final experience comes to us out of an area called Scott Township, Missouri. And it looks like it's just north of Arkansas or the Ozarks. Pretty isolated area. There is two gentlemen that this occurred to or happened to. The main person that reached out to me, they were kids during this time period. They were young teenage kids, 16, 17 years old. And this happened in 1998. So 26 years ago. Jacob was the gentleman that reached out to me today. His friend Travis, we did quickly, while we were talking, do a three-way so we could talk to him just briefly. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty freaking scary, actually. It's not interesting, isn't even the word for it. So Jacob has a pretty unusual hobby. And he's had this hobby since he was a kid. His dad had introduced him to it, and he had done it as projects, like school projects. He was a Cub Scout Weeblo and did it during these things. Never became a Boy Scout, stopped during the Weeblos. And I say that because that was one of his contributions to his Weeblo pack when he was younger, was doing this stuff. And so what they would do, he calls himself a tombstone tourist. And his very unusual hobby is tombstone rubbing. Now, he or you can take a sheet of paper and put it on a headstone and kind of take a piece of chalk, or what he does, artist charcoal, and rub it on the tombstone. He said I usually use a thicker piece of paper, more coarse than printing paper. And I take a aerosol shellac can after it's done. And, obviously he dusts it off quick and then sprays it, lets it dry. And he says he's got 20 something years of different headstone rubbings. Now, it is illegal in certain states, but it is legal in the majority of them. As long as you notify or get permission from the community, the county, the state. It depends on where this cemetery falls under, what jurisdiction and such. He introduced his friend Travis, which he has been friends with Travis since they were in Weeblos together. They both went to different schools, but met while they were in Weeblos. And that's another reason why he brought Cub Scouts Weeblos up. So they would go around, and I had to laugh because, I had never heard of a kid doing this as a hobby. At 16, 17 years old, I guess I wish I had that hobby. Instead of, my hobbies, which was drugs and alcohol, at 16, 17 years old. So I envy him a little bit. Now, they would get their permission and go to different cemeteries to do this. Nothing weird had ever happened during any of his tombstone tourist events. So, and he's gone at night with his dad. Certain ones, they've turned it kind of into a adventure. So they get to this area called Scott Township, which is about an hour and a half from where they live. And he had been wanting to go to this cemetery called Bee Creek Cemetery. Apparently there's books on cemeteries that, talk about older cemeteries that are forgotten about and such. Now, what's interesting is in this area, in this kind of Scott Township area, there's two cemeteries, like not very far from each other, a couple of miles from each other. There is a Booth Cemetery and there's Bee Creek Cemetery. Between these two cemeteries is a road called Gunson Road, and very isolated area. Like, yes, there's a small community, but it is, even to current time now, it's isolated. Imagine 20-something years ago what it was like. They contact the right people, and they get permission, and they hit Booth Cemetery. Now, here's one of the things they did to, or he still does. Travis and him are still very good friends, but Travis does not have the hobby anymore. He's not a hobbyist of tombstone rubbing anymore. And they would, on top of bringing their like notebooks and binders and charcoal with them, they would bring garbage bags and some rakes with them, maybe a shovel, pitchfork, whatever. He had an old Volkswagen truck, a Rabbit truck. Now, if you're not familiar with them, I've only seen them. I've never driven one. I had a Rabbit when I was younger. That had no heat. Imagine having a Volkswagen Rabbit 5-speed with no heat in the Adirondacks. Not cool. That was my first car. So they would tool around in this. The bed is about maybe 3 feet, maybe 3.5 feet long. It's a very small car. Now, they decided to go to Booth Cemetery. All the main tools are in the back of the truck. In between them, it had bucket seats. In between them is where they put their art supplies, their backpack with their art supplies, their garbage bags and such. So they pull into Booth Cemetery, and as they pull in, they see this guy, and he's very unusual. He's, first and foremost, they were told that there would be no caretaker there in the area to bother them. So they're kind of put off. They didn't see a vehicle. There was no vehicle. And, it's just weird when you ask something and yet now there is this. So this guy, he's maybe 50, in a set of overalls with a bluish kind of checkered button-up shirt, overalls over it. And even though he looks to be 50, he's very strong looking. Like, you're not seeing definition through a button-up kind of flannelish shirt, but you can see that he is pretty strong. You know, he's looks like a farmer tough, if that makes sense for you. Immediately Jacob gets out and says, you know, Travis, go get the garbage bags out, get this, get that. I'll you know, go talk to him and let him know that we have permission to be here and we talk to these people and this and that. So if he's got any questions, he can contact them. And we'll let him know what we're going to do. We're going to clean up the area and, you know, do some tombstone rubbing. So Jacob goes over and talks to him and gets the skinny, hey, yeah, I'm the caretaker. And it's just a really off-putting conversation. It's a very unfriendly conversation. Jacob had actually reached out to shake his hand, and he kind of looked at his hand like almost, the way he explained it is, it was almost like he didn't even know what the next kind of step would be to shake hands. He just looked at my hand like, do I shake his hand? You know, or why are you doing that? Almost, you know. Jacob parts ways, goes over and talks to Travis and says, wow, that guy's fucking weird, man. But he's a caretaker. I let him know what we were going to do. And, you know, Travis is like, I thought you said there weren't any caretakers. And he said, I don't know. But he's fine with it. You know, we're good. We're good. I'm going to go over here. And you go over here. Bring a bag with you. Bring a rake with you. And any kind of garbage, any kind of debris, anything, just throw it in there. But bring that with you so he sees what we're doing. And Travis proceeds to walk away from Jacob. But he's not going towards the guy. He's not at all anywhere near where he's at. He's in this isolated area of the cemetery. He's picked up a couple of, you know, garbage, whatever. Old soda cans, soda bottles, empty cigarette packs, what have you. And as he's kind of bending down and he starts doing his first rub, he notices, you know how if you're doing something like, I don't know, best example would be if you planting flowers or bending down doing anything per se, and someone comes behind you, it's almost like the sun is blocked from them standing, hovering over you. That's exactly what he felt, Travis. And he turns, and there's this guy standing over him, watching him do this. And Travis stands up and goes to extend his hand, not thinking that Jacob just tried to do it and said, you know, this guy didn't even look like he knew how to shake my hand. Just instinctual, being a respectful kid, respectful teenager. And that's another thing that Jacob said is, you know, through these years of me and Travis doing it, we were very respectful. We never gave anyone an opportunity to feel like, you know, we were lying to them or up to no good or whatever. Usually, Jacob, whoever he notified, he would leave like his phone number and name. And he's gotten a couple of like thank you cards throughout the years from people that appreciate them cleaning up the cemetery or doing whatever. He's donated a couple of his pieces of artwork, which is really cool because, I mean, you think a tombstone rubbing isn't going to be very cool, you know, or very artistic looking, but you find an amazing tombstone with some very cool detail, and it's pretty badass. He sent me a couple of photos of it. So he immediately puts his hand out and notices right off. The guy looks at his hand and looks up at him. Now, when he looks up at him, he's like, all right, whatever. In his head, all right, whatever. I'm not going to try to shake your hand. He just says, you saw what I was doing. It's pretty cool, right? He shows him this. And the guy kind of mumbles something. It's almost like an animalistic growl / mumble, lacking in any vowels or just not fucking words that we are used to. And he turns to see where Jacob is. He's like, where the fuck is Jacob? As he turns back around to look at the guy is now like standing like really intimidating close to him and looking down at him. And Travis looks up at him, eye contact, respectful eye contact, not any kind of disrespect or my brain just went blank for a better term, but just very respectful. He looks and he's like, as he turns to look, oh God, this guy's right fucking in my face now. And he's looking up at him. And as he's now dealing with that initial shock of having somebody be right in your personal space, but like way too much into your personal space, he's like, holy shit, this guy's got fucking reptilian eyes. His eyes are a snake. His eyes look snake-like or chameleon lizard-like. Just this very terrifying reptilian eyes. And he smiles. And there's all of these just razor sharp looking teeth, like pins, but razor sharp. And he looking right down at him. And Travis has all he can do. He grabs his rake, his bags, and his book, and he runs over to where Jacob is. And he's out of breath. He's shaking up. Jacob can tell something's wrong. And he points and he says, this is what just happened. We got to get out of here. This guy's creepy. And as Travis explaining this to Jacob, they're talking, and he turns to see, because he was going to go, he wanted to see the eyes himself. Maybe Travis had just made a mistake with his, what his eyes look like. But as he turns, he's not there. He's nowhere in the cemetery. There's not a vehicle there. You can see where the road would be. He's just gone. The only other area would be the woods. And he immediately is like, we got to get out of here. Let's get out of here as quickly as possible. Throw everything in the truck and let's go. Just let's get out of here. They do. They pull out and they head down Gunson, and they're heading towards Bee Creek Cemetery. As they are pulling into Bee Creek Cemetery, they're kind of talking about what just happened, how weird it was. Maybe he's lost. Maybe he's got some sort of mental issue. Jacob's still trying to comprehend the lizard reptilian-like eyes. They get out and they're looking around and they're like, all right, he's not here. Cool. Let's spend about an hour and a half here. We'll clean up, and we'll clean up first, and then we'll do some tombstone rubbing, and then we'll get out of here. You know, we got a couple of hours of daylight left, and we got an hour and a half trip home left. So he's over at one area, and he looks, and he's kind of just seeing what Travis is doing. Checks his truck, you know, just kind of doing a 360 of his surroundings, getting a visual of his surroundings, being vigilant. And what he sees when he looks back at where Travis is, because Travis is now bent down and doing another tombstone rub. His bag is on the opposite side of him, which had garbage in it from the previous. He sees what looks like a humanoid walk into the woods, only followed by a bipedal humanoid, only followed by a quadruped with a large tail. And immediately he stops everything that he's doing and he looks. And he's like, what the hell? Because this dog that he thought was a dog was, you know, the ass end of it looked quite lionish in height. Very large. Walk into the woods, and Jacob immediately yells out, hey, come here, get over here, grab your shit real quick. Look what I found. Look what I found. Trying to be distracted or distract everything that's going on. Hoping that his buddy, you know, Travis doesn't see anything. Because in his head right now is just some guy walking his dog, right? As he's piecing this together and Travis is walking over to him, rake, garbage bag, he's got his notebook under his arm. Jacob's thinking like there's something off about everything. You know, he's like something was strangely off. And he realizes, oh my God, that one that went into the woods first was not wearing clothing, just like the one that was following him, but on quadruped. About to pause, Tigger just opened the door. It scared me. I just watched the door go like that. I'm like, so he's like, the quadruped, I saw its muzzle, I saw its tail. Okay. And this, mind you, this is all where, as Travis is walking up to him, and he's like, oh my God, the one before him, what, the guy that walked in the woods before him, that had a tail. That had a tail, and it was bipedal walking into the woods. And he kind of steps back, and he's looking, and it's gone. They're both gone into the woods. Travis gets up to him, and he's like, listen, he goes, why don't we stay together on this one? I just saw a really big dog. It was no more than 35 feet from where you were. Let's stick together. We'll get some, you know, cool rubbings. And there's, you know, one that I really want to look at that's really old. But it doesn't have a tail. And he's just, or it does have a tail, and he's like, what the fuck? And he keeps looking periodically over his shoulder, looks back into that area, and he sees a muzzle kind of nudge out of the woods with these glowing red eyes. Now, mind you, it is daytime, but where the sun has set now, or where the sun is in the sky, there's about a 6-foot shade before the woods. And this thing's about 2.5, 3 feet out of the wood line now. You can clearly see that the eyes are glowing. And there's not one, but two more bipedal standing aside of it. And he looks at Travis and he goes, dude, and he points and he's like, what is that? What is that? And as Travis backs up, Travis freaked out because he was the one that saw that reptilian eye. He's already having like a bad day. As he's, Travis walks right up to Jacob and stands side by side there, and they watch, and two more come out. So there's a total of 5. 4 bipedal, 1 quadruped standing in the middle, and it is huge. The 4 that are standing upright are at least 7.5, maybe 8 feet in height. The one that's in the middle, shoulder, is at least 5 feet, like up to, on the 8-foot ones. And they're both like, holy shit. And he says, get everything in the car. Let's go. We got to get out of here. I have no idea what they are. They look like werewolves. Throw everything in. They're cleaning up, getting their books, getting their garbage, and they're watching. They're keeping an eye out. Because they're like, all right, if they take off running at us, we'll just jump in the truck and go. We'll get out of here as quickly as possible. If we got to hit one, we'll hit one, whatever. They get in their car and Jacob kind of spins it and shoots out going towards Gunson. Now, as they're driving by, they realize that these 5 are no longer in the tree line or in the shaded tree line. They're gone. And they're both like, what the hell? We all saw them. What was that? They're going past there's a conservation hut or kind of building. I guess obviously it's a building, but it's not very, up to date. And this is 1998, so imagine what it is now. They pull out to Gunson, and as they're whipping by, they've got to go past this, conservation hut, shed, whatever. And as he's turning, Travis screams this like horrific scream of like fear. And Jacob looks over Travis, and these 5 dogmen are now walking out of the woods from behind the conservation hut, which there was no cars in that little area. This is a very isolated and terrifying event. I could never imagine being a Boy Scout or Cub Scout or Weeblo and thinking about whatever's out there. Like, fuck, that's scary. They get to the corner and they punch it. Now, mind you, to get back to their house an hour and a half away, they have to go by Booth. They have to go by Booth Cemetery, which is 4 minutes, if that, from where they are. They get out onto the road, and all of a sudden, Jacob goes, oh my God, you're going to hate me. And Travis looks over at him and goes, why? What? He goes, my garbage bag I left back there. Because he looked, he had enough common sense to look first and realize that there's only one garbage bag. Now, the garbage that was picked up is garbage from Booth and any kind of garbage from here, which is pretty similar. The similar amount of garbage similar stuff, cigarette packs, beer bottle or beer cans, any kind of whatever. He's like, we got to get it or we're going to get in trouble. He's loops around and realizes, I can't get in there. I can't, So he's like, fuck it, let's leave it. Spins it and shoots back going towards Booth. As they're driving down this Gunson Road, he stops because he sees the guy in overalls with that shirt walking towards where they had just come from. Jacob, being a respectful kid at the time, says, hey, be careful going that way. There's something out there right now that, don't make any sense, and it's not a bear, and they're not wolves. And there's no kind of communication at all. Just maybe a grunt, As they're pulling up, he looks at Travis. He stops, tells the guy, hey, don't go that way. There's something back there. Bear, not wolf. Right? As he goes back to look back up at the guy, his window's only down like that much. He looks up at him, and at first he was a good clip away from the truck, where he's just talking, hey, don't go that way. He looks at Travis, and as he turns to look and say, be careful, face to face is the face that Travis just saw. But now it's, full on, terrifying looking creature. Just a lack of a better word, reptilian, it's everything that he saw. And he winds his window up. It's a crank window. And as he looks one more time, he doesn't see it. He looks in his rear view and he sees this man start running, like sprinting, very fast, very quick, towards where those 5 dogmen are. He loops it around and says, we got to see what's going to happen. He loops it around. They get over pretty close. And all that he sees is this reptilian-like humanoid with no overalls. So there's no overalls or shirt. And it's literally fighting 2 of these dogmen. The first one was the one that was quadruped. It is now standing over. It is looking over the guy. It is easily 2, maybe 2.5 feet taller than this green-skinned. It has a tail. Jacob, when I talked to both Travis and Jacob for that maybe couple of minutes, 5 minutes, they both literally said there's no way his tail was hiding in his overalls. Maybe, but it did not look like it. It's now tail, it's got everything. It's pretty much taking his clothes off and fighting these 2. One's uber large, the other's fairly bigger than it, and it is not having an issue. It is not having an issue fighting these 2. these two are having all they can do to keep their own on this one. You hear these god-awful screeches and growls and pained noises, and then these two are out of it, done. They're out of the fight. They are dead. It jumps, like it springs into the final three that are behind the two. These three are backing away. They aren't the leader. The leader is now dead. Their leader is now dead. They're backing away from all of this. But that when it jumps, it lands in the middle of them and starts to just attack them. Shortly there, he's like, we gotta go. Fuck the garbage bag. I'll just call and say, hey, I forgot a garbage bag there. We can never tell anybody about this. They punch it around and go back to where Gunson is, where they first saw the guy. And they hear whoomp in their truck, or Jacob's truck, just whoop whoop down. Like something very big hit the back of their truck. And he looks back and he can see a little bit of the carnage, but he sees this face. The same face that was right there 3 minutes ago is now maybe 3 minutes, maybe a little longer, but not even an hour, not even. It only took that creature 15 minutes to go through 5 of these things, 5 of those dogmen. And now it's looking with that same bloodlusted look. But he can see claw marks on its chest. He can see that it is badly hurt. It is, pretty messed up. But it's staring at them with these evil eyes and these just very razor sharp looking needle-like teeth smiling in at them. He fucking punches it. It's standard, so he just punches it, and he hears it fall back, and he watches it fall in his rear view. He looks in his rear view. It hits the back and goes right over the tailgate, and they're out of there. They just flew out of there. As they're driving out of there, they're thinking about, how are we going to share this? This is crazy. Jacob's like, we can't. Travis, we can't. Both of them. Let's just keep it until times change and, everything's kind of normal. For years, they never shared it. He never wanted to share it. And it really just messed up their friendship and everything that they had as their kind of bonding, best friend bonding, whatever. Travis no longer, they're still friends to this day. They still talk, they best man in each wedding. They both were, vice versa. But Travis refuses to go into the woods. He refuses to go into a cemetery. He refuses to do anything. Sorry about that. Pause again. My cat, the channel's mascot, is acting really weird tonight. There he is too. So, it's just their best friend kind of bonding time, whatever, is done. They never had any kind of haunting experience prior to this. They never had anything after. Or Jacob has never had anything after. it is just some kind of nightmare fuel that, and I looked into this area, and there are reptilian sightings in the surrounding areas of this part of Missouri, Arkansas, Dogman, obviously. But how fucking bizarre and how terrifying is it to see something that is no bigger than a normal, average-sized man, human man, It wasn't 7 feet tall. This guy was not 7 feet tall. It was maybe 6 feet in height. Maybe 200 pounds. But just go through 5 dogmen like it was nothing. And then still have this bloodlust for Travis and Jacob. And it by sheer luck, when he had that, if he didn't have a standard, if he only had an automatic, he might not have gotten that just jounce to bounce that thing out of the back of their truck, his truck. Or what if he had a bigger truck, a more fuller sized truck, to where the bed was bigger than 3.5 feet? Would it have gone out? Could they have been a statistic? Probably. What is my cat doing tonight? Anyway. It's just a terrifying experience. Terrifying experience. And there's those what ifs. The what ifs are the worst part about it, because what if the bed? What if, he was driving an automatic? What if it attacked these 2 kids when they first saw it? So that was Jacob's experience. That honestly freaked me out thinking about it, because, how many times have we been at cemeteries? There's millions of them around me. My daughter, I brought you guys to the one where my daughter and her friend saw a Dogman. The cemetery that's close to my house, it's actually bigger than a small town. It really is. It's huge. It has a large pond and a huge stream running through it, with acres of woods, acres of headstones. It's fucking creepy, man. And then, I've got Tigger, the channel's mascot, running around acting like a creep down here. I thought he was upstairs with Belle. So I'm hearing all these noises throughout here. And then he's opening the door acting like a fool. So, haha, good stuff. Anyway, guys, thank you for supporting the channel. It really is your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is treated with the respect that we deserve, and that is because of all of you, so thank you. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, the most precious gift we could be gifted, our pets, the greatest alarm system we could ever have, and our family and friends, the ones that mean the most to us. Share this information with the ones we love and care about. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share it with them, because it may just help save their lives someday. And until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.